Hello everyone, and welcome back to the NFL Kid. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the NFL Kid. I'm your host Rishi Martinani, and today I'm going to be recapping Week 3 of the NFL by going through my top 5 most important games from last week. So, starting off at number 5, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Los Angeles Chargers 38-10. This shows that the Jacksonville Jaguars are for real and a legitimate playoff contender, and with the help of their new head coach Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence now looks to be an elite quarterback. However, I wouldn't put this loss too much on the Chargers as Justin Herbert was playing injured and their top wide receiver Keenan Allen was out. So I think they'll bounce back nicely next week and they should still be fine in the long term. Then moving on to number 4, the Denver Broncos narrowly beat the San Francisco 49ers on an ugly Sunday night football game. That game was very boring to watch as the score was 11-10 and very little offense happened. It was a defensive battle, but ultimately the Broncos were able to pull out the victory, but their offense, it just didn't look good. And even though both defenses looked very well, both offenses definitely need to improve. Next, moving on to number 3, we have Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers beating Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-12. This game was a defensive battle throughout the entire game until the very end when it got exciting. All throughout the day, both defenses played really well and neither offense could really get anything going, mostly because both offenses had a lack of talent at the wide receiver position. Also, the Buccaneers' offensive line was very badly injured and Tom Brady had very little time to throw. The Bucs were down 14-6 in under 2 minutes remaining in the game. However, Tom Brady drove the team down the field and they scored a touchdown, but they still needed a 2-point conversion to tie the game and send it into overtime. They lined up for the 2-point conversion, but then there was a delay of game penalty on the 2-point conversion, moving them back 5 yards. Now they had to try a 2-point conversion from the 7-yard line, and that it failed. They were not able to convert the 2-point conversion, and they ultimately lost 14-12 in a crazy ending to what was a very big defensive battle. Now moving on to number 2, the Indianapolis Colts pull off a big upset over the Kansas City Chiefs, winning 20-17. This was a desperately needed victory for the Colts to avoid starting 0-2-1 and have very little chance of making the playoffs, and they were able to pull out the sneaky victory over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now, moving on to number 1, another crazy game with a wild ending, the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. In this game, Miami was able to beat the Bills 21-19 in what was another crazy finish. Miami was up 21-17 over the Bills with very little time remaining in the game. However, they were backed up near their own end zone and forced to punt. However, when they go to punt, the punt is blocked and the play ends up being a safety. The score is now 21-19. Buffalo is losing. However, the Bills get the ball back and start driving down the field. Then, with 10 seconds remaining, Josh Allen throws a pass, but his receiver is unable to get out of bounds, and the clock continues to wind down, and they are unable to get the next play off before the clock hits 0, and the game is over. Buffalo loses 19-21, and Miami starts out 3-0. The game was absolutely crazy, and the ending was one of the craziest endings of the season. Some more major news that happened in Week 3 of the NFL. The Falcons actually don't choke for once and beat the Seattle Seahawks 27-23. The Minnesota Vikings come back to beat the Detroit Lions 28-24 on a last-second touchdown. The Tennessee Titans barely hang on against the Las Vegas Raiders, winning 24-22. And sadly, my New York Jets lose to the Cincinnati Bengals 27-12. There were a bunch of penalties that killed us, and also our offensive line really didn't look that good. Joe Flacco had no time to throw, and he was getting hit left and right. This is partially because we've had a lot of injuries on our offensive line, with Mekhi Becton getting injured before the season even starts, and then his replacement, Dwayne Brown, getting injured as well. I just hope that Zach Wilson doesn't get injured behind this offensive line when he comes back. Well, that's all for this episode of the NFL Kid. Make sure to comment down below what your favorite game of Week 3 was, and also make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more amazing content by the NFL Kid. Until next time, my fellow football fans, see you at game time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.